So here I got a little video of mine that I did a while back, Blender for Blogs. You might be familiar with it if you started following me a couple of years ago. And you can see this really old MoGraph title that I used. That's really, really old. And by the way, I have my screencast keys over here in case you want to see what buttons I'm pushing. But I'm just going to find a place here, and I think I'm going to go to the end where I did my outtakes. Right on this green screen here, we're going to start where I start that green screen. And I'm going to select both my video and audio strips, and I'm going to make a cut. And then I'm going to zoom in and find out where I want to stop the speed control. And we'll cut it right before the last little boop thing here, the boop. Okay, so there are several different workflows you can use with the speed control. I'm going to show you the one that I use that I think is the fastest. First, I select my video strip. Then I press Ctrl-G to make that into a meta strip. Then I press Shift-A and add in a speed control. Now I can hide the original audio strip because all of the video information is now in this speed control. And it's just redundant to have Blender processing a duplicate video on top of the original one. So you can see this information here. This number is the duration of our strip. So I'm just going to come up here to the overlays and disable name and source, and then turn the waveforms to on. Okay, so now we can just see the duration of the strip, which is how many frames the strip is. Now one thing I can do is come over here to the multiply speed, and if I type 0.5 in here, then it slows it down to half the speed, but I'm not going to use that. I'm just going to make sure stretch to input strip length is checked. And then I'm going to select my handle, and I can just click and drag my handle. But if I know I want it to be double the speed, then I have to shorten the strip to half of the length. So to do that, just go to the beginning of the strip, press Alt page up to put the cursor directly in the center of the strip. And just keep in mind, if you have strips stacked on top of each other, the cursor is going to go to the first middle that it finds. Okay, so with the end handle selected, and that is important, you have to select the end, you can't do it from the beginning. So select the end handle and press Shift-S to snap it to the cursor. And now the strip is at half of the length that it was, which means it should be double the speed because it will take shorter time for the whole strip to play through. So half the length equals double the speed. I could also take the handle, grab it, and Control snap it to the beginning, and then press G again to grab and then type the number of frames that I want. So I'll type 100, and now you can see we've got 101 frames, which is roughly 5 seconds. It's a little over 5 seconds because I'm using a frame rate of 24 frames per second. And now you can see if I play it back, it'll play that whole meta strip in 5 seconds. But I think that's too fast, so I'm just going to undo back to double the speed or half the length. There we go. So let's talk about the audio. Let's unhide this here, and then we'll come to the end and cut it here with the same length as our video. So speed control doesn't work on audio strips. So what we have to do instead is come over here to the pitch. So pitch for audio is like speed for video. So if we want double the speed, we just type 2 in here. And remember, it's double the speed and half the length of the strip.
Cut out everything that you don't want, like this.
And now you can see I'm talking like a chipmunk. But something to note here is that if you pause it and then restart it in the middle of the strip, or just go to a random place in the strip, it's going to be off sync from the video. And I'm not entirely sure why it does that, but it does that. So you have to make sure you start at the beginning of the strip in order to hear that playback. Okay, so then we can grab these, snap them back here, and then we can play through that. And oh, I forgot to mention that Blender doesn't like this very much. So be careful when you're scrubbing through the audio when you change the pitch, because it can cause Blender to crash in 2.92 at least for me. So make sure you're saving, and I don't think I saved it. So I'm going to have to go back and redo all of this, and we'll pick up from where we left off. All right, this is where we left off, and I'm talking like a chipmunk until I get here, and then it's back to normal again.
Let's try that again.
Boop. All right, so we can go the other way and make it longer. So let's take these last two and bring them out here. And then with the video selected, I can press Alt-O to clear that offset to get it back to where it originally was. And then I can extend that in handle out as far as I want, like that. But if I want it to be half the speed, I need to double the length. So it's the opposite. So if you want double the speed, it needs to be half the length. And if you want half the speed, it needs to be double the length. So I'm just going to clear that offset again. And with the in handle still selected, I can press G and just type in 1090, which is the length of the strip. So it's going to double that and then enter. And now we have double the length. And you can see it now plays at half the speed. Okay, so again, the audio is going to be a little different because we can't extend the in handle past the last frame of the audio. Only video, image, and other strips can be extended past the last frame. Audio can't. But it's a fairly easy fix. To get around this, all we have to do is just go to the end of the strip wherever you want to cut, which for us is, again, at the halfway mark of our video. And then with the audio selected, press and hold Shift and then press K to cut or split the strips. And you can just delete this last bit because we already have that last bit along with the last bit of the video over here. And what the shift cut does is make this the end of the audio, and so we can't extend this past here anymore. And it used to be called a hard cut, but they've changed kind of some of the terminology, so it's not cut anymore, it's split. You're splitting the strips, and then this is a hold offset. And because we can't extend that end handle out, we have to reverse engineer it a little bit. So take the whole audio strip and snap it all the way to the end. Then we can take the beginning and drag it and snap it to the beginning of the video. And now what we can do is press S to slide the audio over to the left. And then all I have to do is press minus 1090 because that's half of our strip. And it will slide the audio within the strip 1090 frames to the left. Oh, and we can't forget to change the pitch or the speed of the audio. And remember the speed, we want it to be half the speed, so we want to type 0.5 in here. And now if we go to the beginning of the strips and play, you can see the audio and video strips play at half the speed. But I'm going to save it a lot here. Make sure you're saving, again, if you're doing this with the audio, because Blender 2.92 doesn't like it very much. But a better way to handle the audio, if you get it to a place that you like it and you know you're not going to change it much anymore, you can always easily render that audio out. So with your audio selected, press Shift-H to hide everything else, then come up to View, go to Range, and then select Set Frame Range to Strips. And then come up to Render, and then Render Audio. And you can see it's by default a .FLAC or FLAC. And over here up on the right, you can see you have a drop-down list of different audio formats you can export it to. Since Blender's default is FLAC, and I'm going to use it in Blender, I'll just use that. And then I'll name this Slow Down, and then come over here to Mix Down. And then it doesn't give you any indication that it's working, but just give it a moment and it will mix everything down. All the visible audio in your frame range will be mixed down together. It'll take a few moments, just wait for it. And then when it's done, just go to the beginning and then add in a sound and then navigate to your folder and choose the sound you just saved. So now if we hide the original audio and then unhide all the video and the rest of it, we can now play it with no problems. And then if we can skip through and play it, and it will still be in sync with our video. Okay, so let's reset our frame range here. And then I'm just going to bring these ones back over. And you can see it's slow all the way until the end, where it goes right back to the original strips and the original video and audio are played. Okay, so this is your setup there, and oh wow, that's a lovely face here. That's probably what I'm going to use for my thumbnail. But this was just how to use the speed control really quickly. This is the workflow that I used, but if you want to know why I do it this way, then stay tuned, because I'll be making another video showing the strip mechanics and some of the reason why the speed control behaves this way. So like I said, stay tuned and you'll see me over there.